Vikram, do you want to just give us a bit of a global status update with respect to vaccines?
Yes, sure. Thanks. Again, very similar to what Dr. Chowdhury mentioned, there are a few other vaccines that are available in the US and in Europe. The US is rapidly deploying 3 vaccines, the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna, and the J&J, the Johnson & Johnson. All of them are equally efficacious. You must have read in the news about the certain countries in the EU which stopped vaccinations based on some concerns. And again, like Dr. Chowdhury mentioned, there is no science behind that. There were around 15 cases of blood clots out of 20 million vaccines that were administered. And honestly, in my opinion, stopping a vaccination regimen at a very crucial time is a very dangerous thing to do, especially as parts of Europe, like we mentioned, are going through their next wave. This makes the public very concerned about vaccine safety, and re-educating the public to make sure that the vaccine is safe and well taken is a mountain of a task. So again, to emphasize, these vaccines are all very, very safe. It's honestly the only way we see out of this horrible pandemic. And if you have these pre-existing conditions, you should be even more enthusiastic about taking the vaccines. You're at higher risk for COVID infection and the badness that it can create.
So the points that I picked up from what both of you have said till now, one is that there is a reason behind taking the vaccine. We must take it. The AstraZeneca issue in Europe and all of the countries which have put on hold the vaccine because of blood clot and death, there's a very minuscule percentage of this, and that can't be the reason why you should have a doubt with respect to taking the vaccine. And this question has been asked by several people who have registered, who are on the show today, because if I understood correctly, it is the AstraZeneca, which is Oxford, which is Serum, and which is Covishield, and a lot many people are taking Covishield in India. So somewhere it comes back to a doubt, and I guess I'm talking on behalf of the 20% people who polled saying that yes, I have a doubt with respect to taking vaccine. If this has happened in the EU, and if they have gone and put a temporary hold on taking the vaccine shot, why should I be taking it? And what's the risk? So maybe 30 seconds each on the AstraZeneca, blood clot, and vaccine, maybe just to re-emphasize the point that you want to make, please, doctors.
Yeah. So absolutely. I think it was just the first case, I think, was in Denmark that came out, and somebody had a clot just after taking the vaccine. Now, following that, there were about 37 total cases, and out of 17 million that received the vaccine who had some sort of a clot, which was during the period of the vaccination or just after it. And only one person out of that had died. And that put the entire European regulatory authority to look at the vaccine status, because they wanted to be extra careful. However, they have put out, the WHO before, and now the European regulatory body has also put out their statements saying that they do not find that these are related. They find these are coincidental, and they haven't found evidence that the clots are related to the vaccines. If we look closer at home in India, most of us have had Covishield, and how many of clot deaths have we heard about? So if I were to be sitting, having seen the pandemic in its fury and rage through the year, if I were to decide whether I was going to die of of COVID versus whether I had a minuscule risk of having a clot, which one would I choose? I would not want to die of a preventable disease. And that is what I would want to do, A. B, that if you were to look at people who have clots like pulmonary embolism or DVT, 2 out of 1,000 would get it at that age group where these people were described. So far, there is absolutely no evidence that this is related to the vaccine. And B, your chances of having mild disease and not getting hospitalized, not being, losing your life savings behind a hospital management for COVID, or suffering from COVID thereafter, or even putting your life at risk, it is much better to take the vaccine rather than not.
Well noted. Vikram, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, very similar. You know, Dr. Roy Chowdhury and I both work in ICUs, and we've seen what kind of death and diseases COVID causes. And it's not just in people who are old or have comorbidities. It happens very frequently in young people as well. And the expense of not taking the vaccine can be a very dangerous price to pay. And based on non-existent data, there should be no concerns at all about the safety of any of these vaccines, be it the AstraZeneca, Oxford, or the ones that I mentioned earlier. If you have access to the vaccines, you should be starting to take them today. Please don't waste any more time. This is the only way we see ourselves out of the pandemic. It will still take 4 to 6 weeks for you to build the immunity if you take your first shot today. So please don't waste any more time. Every day that you wait is a day that you're at risk for illness.
Thank you very much. This question has been asked by several people, the AZ issue, and I hope Prashant Ramdas, Ravi Kulkarni, and Aloy Mahapatra, we have answered your question. And for all others, the messaging is very clear from the doctors on the show, and please keep in mind the roles that they play in their respective hospitals. They are in the ICU. They see the worst of cases. It is very clear. And Aloy, you asked a question that you've already taken, somebody in the family's already taken the first shot and the second jab is due. Without doubt, the messaging is you should take it. And I also heard Dr. Roy Chowdhury mention that, yes, if you have a comorbidity, if you have an issue, you should consult your GP before you take the vaccine, by all means.